The film begins with a scene where a man is chased by several police officers in the FBI. He ran to the roof of the PNC Park baseball stadium in Pittsburgh. Then, an FBI member tried to persuade him, but instead, he jumped from the roof of the stadium into the river, and the movie starts. It starts from a few years earlier, where a family was camping in the forest. There was Ray Cooper, his wife named Amanda, and daughter named Rachel. They looked happy until they immortalized it on a family photo frame. However, that happiness soon disappeared because they had to face the harsh reality where Ray's wife had malignant cancer and was only counting the days because her cancer was getting worse. His only help is the drug Sparrow, which is produced by Bioprime. Ray was forced to liquidate his assets for the sake of his wife's treatment. Ray and his daughter continue to live their days while accompanying his wife in the hospital. Even in the midst of his wife's illness, Ray threw his daughter a birthday party. His wife gave her daughter a Paloma doll. It looks like they are trying to be strong to face this problem. One time, Ray felt his wife had not been given medicine from the hospital. Then, Ray asked the nurse, but there was no answer. Then, Ray saw Dr. Wu, the doctor who treated his wife at the time. He asked why his wife had not been given medicine. Then, Dr. Wu explained that the Sparrow drug produced by Bioprime has been withdrawn from circulation. Therefore, Ray's wife could not continue her treatment. Not only Ray's wife, it turns out that several cancer patients are also affected. After that, one of the TV media held a live talk show that invited the CEO of Bioprime Company, named Simon Keeley. Simon explained that the reason for the withdrawal of the Bioprime drug was due to the increase in market price. It seems that he actually wants to make a lot of money by carrying out his political actions. Ray heard that news. Then, Ray tried to contact the TV media directly. Simon tried to explain it so he could understand, but Ray instead said that if his wife died, then the CEO's life would end too. Ray didn't realize that Rachel was listening to him, and she just kept quiet. It wasn't long before Ray's wife died in the hospital because there was no treatment she needed. Ray was very upset about this situation. 6 months later, Ray continues his life with his daughter. One day, suddenly, a journalist contacted Ray. He knew about the corruption case from the Bioprime company and who was behind it. Ray was curious about the message he conveyed, then he went to their planned meeting place. Ray looked for the location of their meeting, and the caller directed the way. Turns out, Rachel overheard her father's conversation on the phone, so she followed Ray from behind. Soon, he met a journalist named Martin Bennett on the train. Martin tells Ray about the government bribery case involving the company Bioprime. Then, he asked Ray to testify as a victim. Before he could finish explaining, suddenly, an unknown man came from behind and stabbed Martin to death. Then, Ray fought him off quickly. Their fight ensued in the carriage. Rachel, who had followed Ray, immediately screamed, startling Ray and the man. Ray tries to protect Rachel.
Baby, are you okay? Look at me.
But their chain of actions causes Ray to be stabbed by the man. Then, the unknown man left, leaving Ray and Rachel lying injured. 2 years later, at home, Ray is planning a strategy to carry out his revenge. He begins plotting his revenge at a UNICEF event attended by the CEO of Bioprime. He disguised himself as a waiter to infiltrate the event. Then, he traps Simon by spilling water, which leads him to the bathroom. Simon, who still didn't know what was happening, went to the bathroom with his 2 bodyguards. Then, Ray approached them and attacked his 2 bodyguards.
She died because of you.
Next, he attacked Simon Keeley to death. But before Simon died, he mentioned the name of one of the puppeteers, Vinod Shah. Then, Ray left. Arriving at the house, Ray asked Rachel to rush out of town because he had killed an important person. On the other hand, at the crime scene of the murder, several police officers and the FBI come to interrogate one of Simon's bodyguards who is not dead. He recounted some of the sentences he had heard during the fight. Therefore, the FBI began to investigate and look for solid evidence. They investigate anyone who threatened Simon Keeley, one of them is Ray Cooper. Then, the FBI began looking for Ray's whereabouts by tracking the vehicle he was using. The scene switches when Ray is on his way out of town. He was trying to find a place to rest. Not long after, some unknown people suddenly followed him. Ray, who heard them, immediately rushed away from there. However, they were still after him, so he had to fight them to the death. Turns out, Rachel was there too. After that, they hurried away from there. Not long after, a hitman using a stolen car is looking for Vinod Shah's whereabouts. At the same time, Ray also decides to look for Vinod Shah, the person responsible for his wife's death. Then, Ray devises a plan to trap Vinod Shah in a tunnel. However, not only was Vinod Shah at the location, an assassin was also there. Ray is very surprised when the man shot Vinod Shah dead. Ray realized that the man was the same person who had attacked him on the train. Ray immediately rushed off in his car. However, the man actually shot Ray's car tire until it was damaged. Then, Ray steals another car that is nearby and leaves from there. On the way, Ray saw the man's car at a cafe. He decided to approach the man. He tries to talk to the man and find out who sent him. He mentions the name Diana Morgan, a state senator. Then, Ray left from there. He immediately looked for the whereabouts of Diana Morgan. While on the way, Ray's stolen car is found by the police and the FBI. Plus, Ray has been named a suspect since Simon Keeley's death. Ray was immediately chased by several police officers and the FBI. Ray ran to the PNC Park baseball stadium in Pittsburgh. Then, Ray climbed onto the roof of the stadium. There, Ray was already surrounded by several cops and the FBI. This is the scene where the film begins. Ray was on the roof of the stadium. Then, an FBI member tried to persuade him and called the doll Paloma to remind him. This scene brings a flashback to the scene on the train where Ray is actually being stabbed to death. The FBI reminded him that he wasn't Ray, he was Rachel Cooper. Then, there are some flashback scenes where Simon Keeley is killed and Vinod Shah is shot. It turns out that the culprit is Rachel, who is the daughter of Ray Cooper. Back to the scene on the rooftop of the stadium where the person standing now is not Ray but Rachel Cooper. Then, she decided to jump off the roof of the stadium into the river. Inside the river, Rachel was rescued by a police officer and immediately taken to an ambulance. In the ambulance, an unconscious Rachel suddenly attacks some of the FBI. She also managed to escape. The next day in the evening, Rachel infiltrates Diana Morgan's office to continue her revenge. However, the assassin was already there. Shortly after, the man looks for Rachel and tries to attack her. Rachel almost died fighting him. She was strangled by the neck and plunged into a swimming pool. However, Rachel came to her senses and fought back against the man by stabbing him several times to death. Then, Rachel immediately looked for Diana Morgan. Finally, she found the woman. She threatens Diana with a knife and holds Diana accountable for her mother's death. Then, Rachel forced her to tell the truth publicly. Diana, who was already afraid, finally confessed and told the truth. After hearing that, Rachel left. Unbeknownst to Diana, Rachel had already recorded her statement. Therefore, Rachel reported the tape to the FBI. After that incident, Rachel left by plane, and the film is over. Okay guys, if you like our channel, support us with a subscription and turn on the bell, like, comment, and share so that you don't miss our next video and our channel can grow even more. See you guys.